Hello, guys. Can you hear me? I'm hoping you can hear me. Okay. So apparently you can. Welcome to another webinar hosted by me. Today we're going to be talking about Google Forms and how we connect them to Ninox. This is a very frequent webinar we do. It's a very normal use case, a very frequent use case, and I think that it will be very useful for a lot of you. So let me just share my screen with you guys. Okay. So basically Google Forms, if anybody has used them before, are a great way to create a form that would be used in many different scenarios, but the most frequent one is, for example, to in our use case, for example, to send out a customer satisfaction survey. So you have a business, you want to receive some feedback from your customers. Maybe you made a change, maybe not, and you want to see how successful that is, whether they are happy with the product, what their experience was, etc. And you want this information to be gathered, and you want this information to end up in Ninox, where it can be further processed with the wide range of functionalities that Ninox has. So how do you achieve that in a quick and easy way? And we see here, let's start with a blank form. So we'll start with a simple form, and we are going to create our first survey form. So let us start by finding a title for it. Usually the title that I like to use is user satisfaction. Because it's all general and it captures the whole of the intent that the intention that we have. And let's put a description for it. So it's a survey that describes, that gathers rather information from customers about their experience using the product. So this is pretty straightforward. We will have a range of questions that would usually be asked by a customer, from our side, from the business side. Our intent from the technical perspective is to use as many different types of form elements, so we can see how each and every one of them can be mapped and transferred into Ninox. So the first one is going to be how long, or maybe perhaps when did you start using the product? And the type that we're looking for is date. This will give us an idea of the amount of time that the user has been using this product. Another question would be, how satisfied are you with the product? And here you can see, perhaps it's intuitively giving a linear scale from 1 to 5, which I think is appropriate, and we can give it some labels. Another question that would use a different type of form element would be, what is your industry? So let's assume that this particular product is used by customers of many different industries. So you want to see how successful it is in helping or in being useful to different clients who have different use cases, different needs. And let's see, we want to see how good it's doing in medicine, for example, or we want to see how good it's doing in manufacturing, and what can be improved, what cannot. So it's important to to create a profile of the user regarding the longevity of how long he's been working with this product, so how experienced he is in using this product, how comfortable he is, and then what is the particular industry in which he works, like what is the particular use cases he uses, and what is the particular features that he uses. And that will give us a clear idea of which of these features are better, which of these features are easier to use or more useful in general. So yeah, this type of form element should be Dropdown. And let's put some industries here. One would be medicine. The other would be manufacturing, perhaps marketing, perhaps sales, perhaps, I don't know, engineering. So we have, when did you start first using the product? We have how satisfied you are with the product. And you have what is your industry of choice. Another question that would be good would be, oh, maybe I put it in the wrong place. Would be, let's be inspired. Let's do it the other way around. Let's find a particular type of question that we haven't, a type of element form that we haven't used, and let's put it, let's figure out a question for it. Multiple choice. So let's assume that your particular product has 3 different aspects to it, and you want to see if this particular user is using all 3 aspects or is using only one of it. For example, which platform do you use? And one can be web, another one can be mobile, or more specifically, iPhone or Android. App or Android app. So we have our multiple choice. Maybe we want a plain text one. Paragraph. And in this case, we would be something like, describe in a short paragraph this is not a very calculable answer, but maybe you want to read something more specific regarding a particular user's experience. And another one would be, and this is also a paragraph. Let's see what else do we have. can use a checkbox to say which country do you operate in? And we're using checkboxes because perhaps there are multiple countries in which this person operates. So we have Germany, we have Canada, we have France. Yeah, if you have questions regarding what I'm explaining right now or suggestions, please feel free to write it in the chat. I'm trying to do this as interactive as I can. Let's set another one. Perhaps, well, we covered most of them. We don't have a yes or no. These are the options available to us. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this. So we have our user satisfaction journey survey. The first question is, when did the particular person start using the product? How satisfied they are? Which industry? What particular platform do they use? A short description about their experience using the product, ideas or suggestions about how they can improve the product in the future, and which country they operate in. In case of an international company, that maybe they can check more than one. But let's say that our particular product is only available in these 3 countries. So yeah, we have our form. So to be able to create a form that has that sends responses somewhere in which Ninox can also gather them, usually Google Forms by default sends them to a spreadsheet. So every time you write something complete this particular form, this spreadsheet is filled out. So we have our Google form, and now we want to make sure that we create a database in which we store all the responses that we're getting. So we go to our Ninox app, and here we have a new database. Let's create a table. So when you're creating a table that will gather all the responses that we get, we should keep in mind that this table, all the elements in it should correspond to each particular field in the Google form. In that way, we know that all the values are being mapped correctly, so none of the information is lost. We have yeah, so what products they use. So David Coaster makes a question. So this can be a checkbox if they can use more than one. It can be a multiple choice. It can be a drop down. So yeah, so this is the particular context is different, but the forms, the elements that you're going to use are the ones that we are already featuring here. So yeah, just change the name of the drop down, just change the question, change the values, but the technical side is going to remain the same. So hopefully by the time that we end this webinar, you'll be able to do yeah, what your intent is with the knowledge that you have gained here. So let's see. Let's see. We start with the date. So when did they first start using the product? The second one is how satisfied they are with the product. And this, if you think about it, is just a number. What else do we have? Their particular industry. So we have 5. This was a drop down. Yeah. This can be used to represent a drop down. Even if this is a multiple choice, a part of multiple choice can be just one. So as long as it's not limited on the Ninox side, it can be limited on the form side. We write all the values that we have. Really enjoying this new view of Ninox. I hope you guys are too. So let's move on to the next question. What is the platform we use? And this is a choice. Now we have a text. And another text. And then we have a multiple choice again. So there we go. We have all our fields. As you can see, Ninox offers a wide variety of other fields that you can input, but we're going to stick to these ones. I would say these are the hardest to map. The other ones are a little bit intuitive, so it's just a plain text, but it's different type. So phone, location, icon, user. Maybe we can, no. Yeah, so I think that these 7 are the major ones, the ones that you would have the most difficulty with, let's say. I think the other ones are a little bit more intuitive. Let's name our table. So there you go. This is our table, and these are our values. Now, let's see. So we have our completed form, and we have a table in Ninox that is ready to receive, to map all of these values. What is left is to create a glue for them, to create a bridge that will make sure that every survey answered ends up in Ninox. So how do we do that? With this guy. It's called Integromat, and it's nicknamed the glue of the internet. And sometimes I forget the name Integromat, but I never forget their motto. This is a very handy tool to connect third-party apps with each other of various cases. We are focusing on Google Forms today. That's the scope of our webinar. But I've also covered gravity forms and a variety of other forms that pretty much have the same use case as Google Forms. So you create them in this particular third-party app. So gravity forms or incognito forms or cognito forms, sorry. And you map their values into Ninox, and you use incognito to connect these third-party forms with Ninox. It's very secure. It's the standard way of doing things. You could create a customized API to do that for you, but you're missing out on a very sophisticated and secure app that deals only with this part. So with making sure that the transfer of data is secure, is uninterrupted, is functional all the time. So now that we made a short introduction to Integromat, let's dive in and see how we use it to map our values and transfer them. Scenario. So it's asking me what services do I want to integrate, and the service that I want to integrate is Google Forms. So what do we want to do from Google Forms? What is the event that will trigger this connection? Obviously, it's a response. So we don't have an actual connection with Google Forms, so we need to create one. Need to sign in. As you can see, there's two of them. What that is. Perhaps we'll just check one of them. Let's see if we've done this right. See if I've used the right account, because sometimes my accounts get switched by accident. Yeah, this is called for responses 1. So we're okay. So let's click OK. Let's just say 1. So now we need to add another module. This is a connecting app. So the first app is connected. So we need to connect the second one. And obviously the second one is going to be Ninox. So what is the event that will trigger Ninox? In the first app, we wanted to watch for a response. But the second, so after we receive this response, what do we want to do with it? What do we want to do in Ninox? In Ninox, we want to add that response. So the event that we're looking for is create record. As you can see, there are different ways to connect to a third-party app. The Ninox way is to give it an API key. So where do you get that? You go to user.ninox.com. You sign in if you haven't. And then you go to this little tab called API. And here you can generate an API key. Here I have already generated one, so I don't need to, but I could delete this key and create a new one very easily. I copy the value of this key and I paste it here. So now you can see that it's bringing a list of all my teams, and it's an accurate representation of the teams because in my account, I only have one team, team 1, originally named, and so it has successfully created a connection with my account. So I click on my team. I click on the database, the only database that my team has, and the only table that my database has. And as you can see, here are all my values. So the next step is the most important one and the trickiest one. We need to connect every single value from our form with every single field in Ninox. As you can see, it has a strict format, which we will see it's hard to adapt, but it is doable. So let's go here. There is one particular function that we need. And here, in the first part, we put the question that we want to map it to. And the second one is, as you can see, the way that it is used, you have the value, and then you have the format. So user satisfaction was just a number. So it doesn't really need any more mapping than this. User industry was a dropdown. So how do we map it? Here we have this function called a switch. And this is the function that's going to help us map every value that we have created. The first argument that the switch function gets is the actual field. And it's industry, right? Correct. So if you go to my new database and to my table, you will see that when they put a multiple choice, every multiple choice value is corresponding with a numeric value. So Ninox does not map to a label name like medicine or manufacturing or marketing. It maps to a specific numeric value. So here we want to make sure that the corresponding value, the corresponding label, is mapped to the corresponding value. And we helped ourselves a little bit by making sure that the row, the order of our elements is the same as the form as in the table. So let's go ahead and just map them now. The first one is medicine. The second one is manufacturing. The third one is marketing. The fourth one is sales. And the fifth one is engineering. So we have platform. And platform is going to be pretty much the same. Oh, interesting. Actually, now that I see the questions more closely, we have not mapped our so basically here we have mapped this with an old form that we have created, that I've created, the user satisfaction survey. And unfortunately, we need to start over because I connected it to the wrong form. I apologize for this. Yeah, this is our form. It is the same general principle. It's just that, yeah, this is the form that we use today. So let's continue with this one. So the principle is the same. Here we're going to put our first value in this format. I'm just going to move quickly so we make sure, so we don't waste a lot of time. In industry, we have thank you, David, you're very supportive. We have a switch function, so let's remove that. And in the switch function, which we'll find in this second tab with the gear, you would have, what industry do you belong to? And we have medicine 1, two, marketing 3, sales 4, now we have the platform. And the platform is pretty much the same, the switch function. The first argument, the first parameter is the platform. So the same principle that we had in the beginning. User experience is a text, so it's directly mapped. And user suggestion is the same. Country, same function. Switch, country, Perhaps. Perfect. And let's see the order of our countries: Germany, Canada, France. So let's go over it again. We have the correct connection with the correct form, the form that we created today. And in that connection, we have our date with the format date function. Our user satisfaction was directly mapped. And if we have multiple choices, drop downs, checkboxes, multiple values, we make sure that we map them with the switch function. The switch function makes sure that the first parameter is the value of the field in the form itself. And the other parameters map each value in the drop down or in the checkbox with a particular numeric value that it corresponds to in Ninox. And we can see here that every value in the dropdown has a corresponding numeric value. And this is the one we want to map it to, because this is the one that Ninox understands. We have one mapping here, another here. When we have a simple text, obviously it's directly mapped, and a final mapping here. So we click OK. And now the connection between the two is done. So we try to run it, and it's waiting for responses. And we're going to try to give it one. So I am a user. I've received this form, and I will try to complete it. So when did I start using the product? Well, I started using the product 2 months ago. On this day. And how satisfied I am with the product? I'm fairly satisfied, so I'm going to give it a 4. What industry do I belong to? I'll click engineering. I just use the web version. So I love this app. It has everything I need. So how would I improve it? I would like the option of using it offline. And which country do I operate in? I'm going to put in Germany. Maybe I can put in Canada as well, France or Canada as well, to see if it maps both ways, both of them. I'm not sure about this, I've never tried it, but it should function, it should work. So now we submit this, and my response has been recorded, and first we see it here. As you can see, all of my values are in the spreadsheet in Google. So let's go here and see if it has been received. Yes, it has. All my values are also in Integromat. And we have an error. So let's see what the error is. Date started. So we have an error with our date. Let's see what's the format in our date in Ninox. We encountered this error before. But here, we have this format, and here perhaps this. Let's see if we can fix this. Hmm. Now we see the problem. These are not necessary. So let's try them without them. Oh, so now it's correct. So we didn't need the double quotes when we're creating the format date. And now we have everything here. Let's see if we have everything in Ninox. We have our date, our user satisfaction. We don't have our user industry, web, platform, user experience, user suggestions, and country. So there is something wrong in these two fields. Oh, we actually do have country and user industry. We do as well. Well, but they're not selected. So that is our issue. Let's go back and see what the problem is. Perhaps here, the difference between multiple choice and between the checkbox. So this is a multiple choice. This is a drop down. And these are checkboxes. So the nature of our fields here is not correct, but if we have a drop down, perhaps our user industry should not be multiple choice. So let's try it with a simple choice. So let's try it again with choice. We have, let's switch both of them so we make sure that we can work it. So right now we can only support one single choice instead of multiple choices. I will work on the next webinar to see if we can support multiple choice fields in these cases, but so far, I don't think it's possible. We can keep a multiple choice field with country, just so we can test several scenarios right now in the last minutes, but I think, and it's a Google Forms thing more than a Ninox thing, but as the warnings in the field, but we're saying in Integromat, but I think we should test a few scenarios out anyway. So, user industry, switch. Here, let's see if this works. Probably not, but so the country is still not being filled, but we have engineering now. Yeah, guys, I think this multiple choice field is problematic, but if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. Sorry. Where did I stop sharing my screen? Could everybody see me now? Oh, okay. So in the last 5 minutes, if anybody has anything that they want to ask, if they didn't understand, did you see? I don't know where my screen stopped. My screen share stopped, but we now have a successful transfer from our form to our database. And we see our data, the data that we entered here, the date we started, user satisfaction, platform, user experience, user suggestions, user industry, and multiple choice is not supported for right now, but we're looking into it, and hopefully we can have it by next webinar. Do you guys have any questions regarding Integromat? We went over it a couple of times for technical reasons. So this is the way that you format a date, regardless of where it comes from. And the most important technical aspect of it is the switch function. We learned how to use one. We learned that it works with single choice form elements. Okay, awesome. That is good news. Thank you, David. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or any suggestions, please let me know. We have 6 more minutes. Usually, I would encourage you guys to participate in other webinars of this nature, even though the process is pretty much the same. The form elements can differ. And sometimes there are form elements in cognito form or in gravity forms that are quite interesting to see how they're mapped. But the most important ones, I think, are here. So yeah, I'm going to do some test runs with the multiple choice field, but apart from that, I think that the other ones are pretty self-explanatory. So thank you guys for participating. Thank you for taking part in this Ninox webinar and seeing how the elements are mapped and how the how you can use Google Forms and Ninox to create a survey. So yeah, I think we covered everything we had to cover today. Well, if there's no other questions, then thank you again for following this webinar. I hope you learned something, and yeah, if there's any questions there, please contact us. We're very happy to hear from you. So yeah, thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.